This class will be concerned with looking at monitoring people performance. So monitoring the personnel within the business. Now, the skills necessary when monitoring people are listed really in this table. I suppose additional items could be added and some may need further clarification, but essentially it comes down to problem solving, looking at issues surrounding people's ability to problem solve and also to gain information in creative ways about people by questioning and psychological testing and so on, if possible. But observing, coaching, counselling, instructing, these are all words associated with helping people and observing people at work to see how well they're doing and where performance can be improved. Verbal communications, talking to them and dealing with issues that they mention. Controlling the situation, making sure that they're working safely within their environment. Make sure there's adequate training. And giving feedback to the workers or to the personnel involved so that they know how well they're doing and they know what's expected of them. Now, the potential problems in performance and the role of monitoring. Well, strategic decisions may be modified due to change or in response to anticipated change. For example, changes in budget allocations. Now, changes in strategic direction need to be communicated. It's important that the people who are working towards a particular outcome are informed that the outcome has changed, that they need to be working in a different direction or that their efforts need to be modified in some way. So communications is important so that the people who are putting in the effort, working with the machinery, working with the various departments within the business, that these people are adequately informed and can make decisions as to how to best reorientate themselves and perhaps meet a different set of objectives. But there are also continuous improvement strategies. The learning organization. We often talk about the learning organization, the one that is continuously evolving and continuously improving because of the impact of training and the view of management related to training, skills, skill development, and the general development of the workforce. So again, there are potential problems in performance and the role of monitoring related to this because as the strategies change and as the organization swings from one type of production to another or from one set of processes to another, there are issues about updating skills and communicating effectively with the workers. Monitoring is part of learning and developing, or learning and development. Program mentoring and coaching are important. Monitoring is just looking at the outcomes and looking at the ways and means, the procedures that the operatives use, the procedures that the line management use perhaps, or the departmental heads or whatever. But it's looking at how effective their procedures are. It's monitoring their procedures. And to that end, programs of mentoring, passing on experience and passing on knowledge and ideas and tips is a good idea. That is something to be encouraged. Coaching people how to work more effectively. That's a part of dealing with potential problems in performance and looking at the role of monitoring. And being proactive. Don't wait for problems to arise. Management should be involved right from the start and work with the line management and the departmental management. Work with them to ensure that issues are identified early and that there some sort of remedial action is taken to redress any problems at an early stage. The monitors, well, Uh, a manager may monitor performance. Managers tend to monitor performance because that's what they do. That's one of their key roles in the organization, to achieve particular targets and to successfully carry out particular tasks. So they must monitor performance. But performance may be self-monitored. It may be that the performance in some areas relies on the people undertaking the task monitoring their own activities to make sure it's of good quality. Staff need to be trained how to self-monitor. It's very difficult for us to be self-critical. It's very difficult for us to see ourselves. So training is important. And there should be some objective measures that help the person who is self-monitoring do the analysis properly. It may be just a checklist. Has the following been completed? And what was the quality of the output at each level? And it may be a checklist which helps to self-monitor. But help and support should be available in the event of encountering problems. Management should be there to help, not to criticize, because the self-monitoring may be done as fairly as the person can do, but still may be inadequate. So help, support and training may be required. And when there is deviation from requirements in terms of quality or output or quantity or some procedure, then corrective action needs to be put in place. And the rationale for the corrective action should be understood by all involved. So there's no resistance to the introduction of remedial or corrective action to fix problems. So what to monitor? Well, the movement of individual and teams towards the performance standards. That's the most basic. Individuals have got targets they need to achieve, and so have teams. And it's important that it's monitored. The movement from the present position to the aspirational position where they want to be, that movement is monitored and is kept on course. And any issues which may cause it to be slowed down or come off the rails completely, whatever these issues are, they should be identified and corrected, and there should be support and guidance in identifying them and correcting them. Monitor the use of staff inputs, for example, knowledge, skills and experience, and also monitor if any inputs are missing. So it's important to look at the staff in quite an objective fashion and see what is it the staff are doing as a part of their work that is, in a sense, their unique contribution. What is their knowledge, perhaps their experiences? Perhaps they've been doing the job for many years and they're doing it differently to expected, but perhaps their way of doing it is the correct way, because they have learnt by doing over a long period of time. Monitor the processes are being used by staff in their progress towards the performance standards. The processes, as I said, are probably the product of experience. If the task has been around for a while, the people working on the task who are now making changes will do so based on their experience. They know perhaps what needs to be done, and they're going to take measures to introduce what they deem to be the most efficient routes forward. Monitor the outputs and results that the staff are producing. It's important to not just monitor the inputs, but monitor the outputs to see if the outputs are of the required standard in terms of quality and also in terms of quantity, and how these match up to benchmarks that perhaps management have decided were fair and reasonable, and perhaps benchmarks that have been agreed with the operators in advance, for that matter. So see what the outputs are and draw comparisons and make decisions whether further investigations are required or further refinements to the inputs are required so as to meet the benchmarks if they weren't currently met. Look at how outputs are controlling the critical success factors and also the key performance indicators. So look at the key performance indicators. What is it that is being measured? What's being monitored and what's being measured, and to what extent are the key performance indicators being met? Where is there a big deviation, and what sort of action can be taken to correct any shortfall? And look at the critical success factors. Look at what needs to be done and see if that is being achieved. See if it's been easily achieved, or if it's just about being achieved, if it's been achieved under stress, or if it's been easily achieved. So get a feel for the whole process to see what is going on. Monitor the gaps between performances and targets. It's important that there has to be some sort of target for each process, and look at the performance and try to explain any gaps. The gaps may be explicable in terms of resources available, training, the experience of the operators, faulty machinery. It could be explained in many ways. It could be overperformance. It could be that the people are easily achieving the targets, in which case explain why were the targets set so low. Was there something wrong with the planning stage? The staff needs for monitoring. Well, staff need feedback. They need to know what's been determined, and the feedback should come to them and explain what happened and why it happened, and ways forward. It should be supportive rather than destructive and critical. Make sure there's clear understanding of the different roles. Make sure that the people involved know exactly what's required of them, so that they can focus in and achieve an expertise in what is required of them. There should be no ambiguity in the roles. And the direction in which the business is moving should be clearly understood by the operators. And any changes that are imminent should be explained. And there should be consensus, there should be agreement between both parties, the line operators and the line management and the senior management, as to the desirability of the changes. It should be clearly articulated, clearly understood. And job involvement. Who exactly is involved in the jobs? Where does one job end and the other start? It's a bit like the role clarity, so that they know exactly where one ends and the next begins, and who is involved, and the responsibilities of those involved. And also discuss development. The development can be discussed at various levels. What development does the staff need in terms of training? Perhaps an ongoing program of training is required to bring the staff up to a high quality. Or it could be the development of the business at a different level. The development of the business in terms of its product line, the functionality of the products, the complexity of the products, the redesigns of the products, all part of the development of the corporation itself, or of the business itself. So we could look at development under different headings. Types of collectible evidence in the monitoring process. Well, evidence may take various forms. It could be samples of written work, depending on what we're doing. It could be, if it's an office, monitoring office procedures, sampling written work to see the quality of the written work, to make sure that it's accurate, it's clear, it's legible, it's understandable, Make sure it's of good quality. It could be information on how specific incidents or situations were handled. It could be asking for an account of how some situation handled and looking at the communications abilities of those making the report and the accuracy and the detail of the report. Work samples that show progress towards performance standards. If a particular process was operating in with very low standards at one stage, asked to show the progress that it's made towards achieving what was required of it. Look for the improvements it's made over a particular time period, and then try to extrapolate the desirable changes that have taken place so as to completely achieve the targets set by the business. Other forms of collectible evidence, well, new skills and knowledge acquired and used for the job. It could be the workers are completing college courses in the evening, or correspondence courses or online courses, so that they are becoming more skilled all the time, more cognitive, more capable of doing good quality work and better application to the work, better motivated. Look at the training courses that they've attended. Not just perhaps long-term courses, but short-term courses, perhaps one-day events or half-day. Many companies might offer a Friday afternoon training or a Wednesday afternoon training program aimed at particular skills. Look at samples of project work to see what the person is capable of producing in terms of project work. What sort of research can they engage in? What sort of written work have they got? How do they present their researches? How do they draw conclusions that are rationally based on the researches? Look at comments from peers or subordinates. Interview people around the person who work with the person regarding strengths and weaknesses. And I appreciate it's a difficult task, and the people being interviewed may not take easily to being asked such questions, but nonetheless, some sort of process that perhaps in a small group even they're able to look at roles and look at the person and make some comments about performance and so on, but do it in a supportive manner, do it in a non-threatening manner, because it's more than likely the case that the truth will emerge that way. Look at specific performance indicators, for example productivity or jobs completed or the quality of the work that the person is capable of producing. These are all evidential material. This is all evidential material that adds to the understanding of that particular process. Look at budgets and productivity figures. Have the budgets been met? Are the budgets underspent or overspent? And productivity figures, as I've said in other videos, may be difficult to calculate, but attempt to do it, to get some sort of even just ballpark figure on how productive the people on a particular process are. Coaching, well, generally we work in an organization in an ongoing learning and evolving environment. That's, I think, the true of industry and commerce in today's world. We are constantly facing new developments, new technologies, new business opportunities, new markets, new requirements from government and from local states and from the local community, requirements from the customer. So we are generally working in an ongoing learning and evolving environment. It's not static. Now, coaching is an on-the-job training technique. It takes the workers in the business who are currently doing some particular task and coaches them actually how to do the job better or safer or higher quality. It has some outcome, and it needs some way of measuring that outcome to compare how effective the coaching has been. It tends to be individualized. It should be given at the right time, place, and as needed, but it tends to be based on the individual. Coaching is when it's person to person. That's the best type of coaching. It could be coaching one person to a small group. Well, for example, we talk about even football coaches. So in that case, there's a coach who perhaps trains 20 people. But generally speaking, individualized is better, if possible. And it looks at the requirements of the job, it looks at the skills of the individual, and it tries to bridge any gap and provide training for that person to overcome problems. Coaching enables the workers to develop their job performance and secures a long-term continuous performance improvement. So coaching, the outcome of coaching is long-term performance improvement. So coaching, if done effectively, is highly desirable. Now the coaching inputs, well, it provides, for example, hints on how to do things. Something that's not obvious. The process is running and the person is working on this particular process, but there's a hint. If you do this and you do that, it'll be faster, it'll be better quality. It's a hint. Hint from the coach. The coach has got more experience perhaps and has done the job and knows from his or her experience. It provides feedback. It talks to the person about their experiences, their issues, and it analyzes the comments and what has happened during the coaching session and provides feedback to the person. It sets in a process in place where reminders can be put in place, that the person is reminded at certain stages not to do certain things and to do certain other things instead. And these reminders are triggered by certain events. That's a possibility of the coaching inputs. It's the practice, doing it. It's not the sitting down and thinking about it. This is a much more practical session. Coaching tends to be more practical, where people do the job and learn by doing. And when problems arise, they try to fix the problem. So it's problem solving. They try to fix it if they can. They must do it safely, and they must do it without endangering their own health and safety or that of others. They must also try and fix it without breaking the machine or breaking the process further. If they can't, they should be trained to call in outside support. Demonstrations are normally good ways of coaching. The demonstrator performs the tasks, shows how it should be done correctly, perhaps demonstrates it a few times, answers questions, gets the operators to try and do the task, and gives them comments about their methods and their procedures that will help them to refine what they're doing. The coach needs to develop trust, build a relationship, build confidence and cooperation with the worker. If the coach doesn't have trust, the workers will not listen to that person. If they don't have a relationship with the workers will not trust the person, and they will not take on board anything that's said. So it's important, it's vital that there's good trust between the coach and the workers. It should increase confidence and also increase performance. There should be confidence in the coach. The workers should trust the coach and have confidence in the coach. And if the message is clear and clearly understood, there should be increased performance, better performance as a consequence. Now, pre-intervention checks. Well, before there's intervention, to look at a particular process. Checks should be carried out, and you should be aware, or the organisation should be um, beware of making rash judgments. Is the evidence collected fair, accurate, and relevant or irrelevant? It could be inaccurate, it could be accurate, it could be unfair, it could be fair. Look at the evidence, look at it very critically. So beware of making rash judgments. So if a process is running and running well, or appears to be running well, don't make unfair judgments that the person is not working effectively or has got bad working practices. Make sure it's fair, and make sure you're looking at the accuracy of the situation. You're making sure you're reading the situation as it really is. You haven't imposed your own thoughts or ideas or prejudices on the situation. So beware of bias and discrimination. Beware that it's not an act of victimization. You simply don't like the person who's performing the task, and therefore you want to call the performance of that person into question. So make sure that before there's any monitoring of any person, that there is a fair and accurate and relevant and objective set of criteria that suggests that intervention is required. Don't just base it on suspicion or bias or discrimination. So these are some of the issues that we need to take into account when monitoring people performance. And that's all we're going to deal with in this particular session. So let's leave it at that again and say thank you for watching.